welcome back. We have a very exciting show today. We are also live on Facebook, recording this on Facebook. So those who are, we are streaming it live on Facebook. So those who are watching us from Facebook, welcome all to Innovation Monday, June 15th. So this is our 39th show. Wow, we have been on air for 39 days, huh, Anil? That's awesome, man. Yeah. That's fantastic. 39 or 38? What was it, Anil?
39.
39. Man, my math is right. Right.
Wow.
Good. Wow. 39, right? So fantastic. It's Innovation Monday. We are going to have an awesome speaker, Neil Malhotra, who was introduced to us by Anil. He's CEO of an awesome company called VRotas. I had a conversation with him a few days back. I think it was Friday, right? Neil, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Beautiful company. I can't wait to hear about it. So our agenda today, for the first 10 minutes, we kind of go through the agenda, what's coming up, what's around the corner. We know what the state of TiE is. We are going to hear about the state of TiE. And then we are hoping Zena is going to join us, unless she's too busy with Google, who is her new client. So she said she might be a little late, who helps us with posture alignment. And then we have our special speaker, Neil Malhotra from VRobots, and he's going to talk about being connected to remote locations through robotics, which is an incredible field. And then we'll have an open mic, right? So that's about it. What say you? We get started, right? All good? Good thumbs up? Good. First off, it's our, I follow protocol nowadays, right? Of the 39, at least on 25 of them, I have followed protocol, introducing our executive director, who's going to get us started off. Mr. Executive Director, Anil Ramaneni, all yours.
Hi, guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend. So we have on Wednesday, we have a great event coming up, actually moderated by Ravindra. Global trends and opportunities in automotive industry for the next decade. And we have already about 80 registrants already for that event. So it's a good event. And we have another one on Monday moderated by Dhaval, actually. We're going to talk about angel investment. That is one. And another one we are coming up is 24th June, we have a TiE SoCal Angels Pitch event. So we have a full schedule and just finalizing the July schedule also. So
brilliant. Hey, Dhaval, when is your event, man? Tell us a little bit more.
That's next Monday, I believe. And we're going to talk about angel investing. What is angel investing, how it fits into your portfolio, things of that nature, and then what the process is that we're following. So on the panel discussion, I'll have Shankaram, who's managing our 2020 fund. We'll have Venkat, who has, again, tons of experience with angel investing and VC investing. And we'll have a third party from outside, probably from Pasadena Angels. I'm still trying to nail that down, but they'll talk about their process and if there are any synergies, and we're sharing deal flow in certain cases. So the idea is to talk about what angel investing actually looks like. And hopefully, it helps our fund, but more importantly, it educates our charter members on, if they want to participate in this going forward, or if they want to take advantage of the fund, things like that.
Excellent. Let me know who you're looking for, whether it's Pasadena Angels or Tech Coast Angels. I think Grant Van Cleef from Tech Coast Angels makes for a fantastic speaker in Pasadena Angels. I'm a member of both of them. So just let me know if you need any help. I'm also a member of the Pasadena Angels Fund, right? I have about 50K in that. So
fantastic. Yeah, I'll definitely
let me know if you need
let's have a conversation offline.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They're great speakers. There are some good speakers in Tech Coast Angels who are very good. Grant Van Cleef has been a very good supporter of ours too. Will be very good to hear from him. So good luck on that. Wednesday, this Wednesday, we are going to have a fantastic panel. Actually, we are having mobility. We are focused on mobility and new trends, opportunities for entrepreneurs in automotive. And we are going to have the managing director of Honda Innovations with us, Raymond Zhang, a good friend of mine. We are going to have Alexander Edwards, the CEO of strategic vision, giving us some insights on their research in advanced technologies and what's coming up over the next decade. And we have Partha Goswami, who heads up advanced planning and strategy at General Motors. He's going to call us, be calling in from General Motors, Detroit. And we have Charles Owen, who joined us last week on the supply chain panel. He and I have been talking a little bit, and he's going to give us some perspectives of things going on in India. So about his fund in the automotive industry, primarily smart mobility, so which is going to be a lot of fun. Okay.
I'm actually looking forward to that, Ravi.
Cool.
That should be a very exciting discussion.
Yes.
I am really excited for that.
Yes, yes. And I made sure people don't talk about Tesla too much, but that's okay. Probably Nikola instead of Tesla.
Well, that's the whole point I'm listening.
Probably Nikola instead of Tesla, right? So we are going to be talking about that. Just very quick hi around the gallery. I know we said hi to Neeta. So Neeta, it's okay if we just, everything going good, right, Neeta? Good, fantastic.
Love that background.
I love the background too. I was about to say that. Vivek, haven't seen you for a while. How are things going? I think Vivek is on mute.
Hi, I'm good. How's everybody?
Very good. I like the golf
busy.
course. I love the golf course in the background there.
Thank you. I was working on one of the key projects of our company, so it was launching HBO Max, so busy with that. So, but I'm back now. Thank you.
Nice, good. HBO Max is on YouTube for me, so I'm a YouTube channel YouTube subscriber, and I got Max for a month or something. So we have Pankaj. What's going on, man? How are you doing?
Good afternoon, all doing well. No complaints. You know, would like to see what Neil has to offer.
Absolutely. So our special guest. So I'm trying to text Zena and just give me half a minute, Neil, okay? If she's coming in. Are you coming in? You coming in? If she does, she'll do the end of it rather than. So what we'll do is we'll switch around the agenda a little bit. We'll go Zena at the end, and we'll bring in our guest right now. So this is a very, very impressive bio. Neil Malhotra is our guest today. He is CEO of a company, fascinating company, V-Rotors. I'm telling you, he spoke to me about it last week, and it was fascinating. He has one of these fantastic backgrounds. He brings together years of aerospace and video game industry experience. Such a fascinating intersection. Having worked on deep space missions, APL, commercial rocket launches at Orbital, and obtaining his private pilot license, Neil has a passion for aviation and space. His degree is in aerospace engineering from Go Blue, Michigan. Yes, my favorite. Go Blue, okay. And a graduate from Caltech. Later in his career, Neil co-founded Acclaim Games, which was acquired by Disney Playdom and served as the Bound CTO, the creator of The Walking Dead. Wow, the creator of The Walking Dead. Wow, that's pretty cool. So Neil, welcome on board.
Thank you. Great introduction, and wonderful to see everybody. I feel like I know pretty much everybody, so it's talking among friends, isn't it?
Excellent. Absolutely.
I will give a short introduction of some of the things I've been working on in the field of telerobotics, maybe 10-15 minutes, and then we can open up some discussion. If you have any questions while I'm speaking, please just jump right in.
Excellent. Thank you.
And is the sound okay? Can you hear me fine?
Yes, I can at least. Yes.
And you can see my slides?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. So my focus currently is in the area of controlling remote devices. Those remote devices are illustrated here. They could be drones. They could be robotic explorers on other planets. And it's a very broad range, yet what we find is there's some very similar requirements in all of this technology. And the bottom line is that we're extending the human experience. We're extending the human experience through technology. to places where you could otherwise not be. You may not have the chance to go to the moon. You may not have the chance to go to Mars unless you're a billionaire. But through our platform and through technology, you have the chance to do that. And that's really our goal. That's our mission. Let me give you a little background, notwithstanding the fantastic introduction. My background, again, is one of combining aerospace and video game technology. And from what I described to you, the opportunity to be virtually present in a remote location, it is a combination of technology and user experience. That user experience is no less important. You know, anytime you talk about something that a consumer or a human being is interfacing with, user experience is really key. So we are innovating on both sides. The creativity is really on both sides. And to that extent, when I was working with the Walking Dead team at Skybound, I met my partner, John Platten, who goes by JZP. Now, why does he go by JZP? Well, John worked for Niantic. Niantic is that fantastic spin-off out of Google, which innovated mixed reality experience, starting with Ingress. In fact, John was really at the center of that creation. He's a creative genius, so he helped create that with John Henke, who runs Niantic. Now, that would be two Johns, and so there lies in the problem. So the first John that was in Niantic said, well, you cannot be John, so he became JZP. So that's the story. John is really a video game noteworthy pioneer. He has almost 60 video game titles to his name. But most recently, his innovations are really in this area of mixed reality, including Jurassic World. So Jurassic World, the AR experience, is his creation as well. Ghostbusters, I could go on and on for what he's done. That mixed reality, which you're going to see, is absolutely key to the user experience, because when you are looking, perhaps through video, at a distant location, it can be difficult to discern exactly what you're looking at. And so mixed reality provides a way to enunciate the key features in the visualization. So what exactly have we been working on as our entryway into this huge world, right? So telerobotics can extend to almost any vertical, and we'll go through that. But specifically, how does it work? Well, from your computer, okay, literally your PC, your Mac, you can download an application and you can become present inside a virtual cockpit of a remote drone, okay? So that drone might be located anywhere in the world. In fact, we fly drones here in Southern California, and people around the world, London, Middle East, everywhere, join from their computer, and they fly drones located here in Southern California. So that's what this illustrates. You're on your computer, you're downloading an application which lets you immerse yourself directly into the cockpit of that remote drone. It may not be a PC. You might have a VR headset, which of course is fully immersive, right? Because in VR, you have the full 3D modeling all around you. On a computer, it's all in 2D. You might access it through a web browser, or it might be on a mobile phone. The amazing thing is that you can extend yourself to that remote drone through any of those platforms. And that's the magic. The other side of the magic is that you're not doing it alone. So you may be joining me, you may be joining Anil. It's really the two of you who fly that drone together. And that's part of the human experience. We talk about extending the human experience to these remote locations. Part of the human experience is not doing that alone, right? You don't golf alone. You usually don't eat dinner alone. So why should you go to a remote location alone? You just wouldn't do that as a human being. So that's what we're talking about. All right, so let's look at what that looks like. We fly, one of the locations we fly, you may be familiar, is off the ocean at Palos Verdes. And this is the famous lighthouse that's right there at Palos Verdes. Here you have a quick introduction of the actual drone that's taking off. The pilots, again, are located somewhere else in the world. In this particular flight, they're located in Europe. And what you see in the second part of this animation is that the users can be in VR or they could be operating the PC. And as they're, this in particular is actually a race experience, as they're racing, the augmented reality defines the objectives in the real world. And that's very much a key component of the user experience, is this augmented reality to define where do you want to go in the real world. What are the key highlights? You're not just flying out there for no reason. You actually have some objectives. The experience is also in VR, I mentioned to you. If you put on a VR headset, then you are immersed in a 3D cockpit, a real cockpit, where you have full instrumentation, all the telemetry that's coming from the vehicle. And if you look to your side, you'll see your co-pilot. And of course, they're moving around just like they would in real life, because that movement is driven by they themselves. There's only one way that Anil moves his head, trust me. And you know that that's Anil behind that avatar. This is called, immersion, right? This is really extending yourself to that location. And I can tell you, in the thousands of flights that I've been in, there are moments where you just completely forget where you are at present, and you are there. And you're there with those people who are together with you. And that's the magic that we're achieving. In this particular example, it's more of a virtual tourism, right? So the AR markers that you see, they're actually marking the interesting locations for the pilots to go visit. And so we're utilizing augmented reality for that reason. One of the interesting experiences we have as well is that you can ride along with those pilots. And we're about to launch this live to consumers, where you sit right behind them in the jump seat. And of course, in that jump seat, because it's virtual, there can be thousands of people who come along for the ride. We have been flying with, of course, video game personalities, which is really quite fun. So this gentleman is, Fears Life is actually in Canada. He is either #1 or #2 on our rankings of pilot skill. But these guys can really do some amazing things. Now, the perspective from the outside is really quite amazing. The courses are nearly 5 to 10 acres in size, and drones today can go 4 or 5 miles away. So they're really quite vast distances. And if you look from a perspective from above at the actual vehicles going through one of these courses, you get this fascinating perspective where you're watching a several acre area with real vehicles flying through there, and we've actually labeled them with virtual name tags. As we look at different industries, you can imagine beyond entertainment, the defense industry is obviously interested in this for battlefield management, which is for ultimately the protection of everybody. But it provides really an incredible viewpoint on the real world. One of the projects that we've kicked off that extends beyond the drone experience is really the ultimate goal. And this is driven by the X Prize Foundation. It's the $10 million ANA, the airline, they're the sponsor. The $10 million ANA Avatar X Prize. Avatar means that it's a human robot. And the vision that ANA has as an airline is that in the future, you don't necessarily have to travel by air to that location. You can inhabit a human avatar robot with all the sensation. And this $10 million competition is there to inspire the technologies to make this a reality. We are partnered with some great universities, University of Illinois and Duke University, who are building the actual robotic hardware. And we are the software solution, right? We're the user experience and the platform that allows for remote control of that human avatar robot. That robot is not only provides you with locomotion, the ability to move around the remote location, but includes touch, okay, including fingertip touch, the latest in haptic technology. It includes a sense of smell, okay, so chemical sensors which then reproduce those scents for the operator. And then of course thermal sensors so that you feel the actual temperature and sensations of heat even though you're located remotely. So the objective is really to be present as in the fullest extent through this competition, inspired by this competition in that remote location. So whether you're visiting a beach in Hawaii or something in the cold Arctic, you can feel that full sensation. This is really an exciting competition, and the X Prize is quite noteworthy for pushing the frontiers of technology. I was talking with you earlier. We've just started we've been invited to an accelerator program called TechStars, and it is focused on space. And so one of the applications is to be remotely present in space. And the idea for robotics here is to repair satellites with human operators on Earth. And so that's what's illustrated here. We're also working with NASA JPL on some concepts of human-controlled rovers on the moon. And that's the next step for going back out into space. The last thing I want to talk about is really just recognizing how many different areas of application there are for telerobotics. So I've come to you more with the human experience side, which you can relate through tourism or perhaps taking care of loved ones who are distant. But from an enterprise standpoint, there are many verticals, and here are some that we've identified. Remote inspections, obviously, facility security, space operations we touched on. Oil and gas is a huge industry with a lot of remote operations, and the efficiency can be really improved through telerobotics. Mining is in a similar position. Ocean exploration, farms, surgical robotics. We're actually working with Cedars-Sinai now, their neurosurgery department, with an application that leverages exactly the platform I've just shown you for remote surgery. And tourism and entertainment are clear. So thank you. That's really my introduction to what I've been working on, and I hope I've communicated to you the opportunity that telerobotics provides for extending the human experience, and this will be part of all of our future.
That is brilliant. I'm telling you, I was absolutely engrossed in your presentation. Thanks, Neil, for
Absolutely.
such a fascinating company. I mean, it's brilliant. It's absolutely. And I was looking at those two last numbers. I'm so surprised that tourism and the last one there were bigger than the other. Entertainment were so huge. I mean, I would have thought there are others that would be big. I think that farming also is agriculture that you mentioned would be huge numbers too, but that is like 4 times entertainment and tourism.
Tourism is an amazing industry, and of course COVID has had such a devastating impact on that industry, but it will pick up. And certainly to that note, telerobotics offers a safe way to travel doesn't it?
Excellent. It does. It does.
And
Anybody
actually,
have any questions? Go ahead, Anil.
actually, tourism, because of COVID, I think tourism market is still will grow due to this kind of platforms.
I fully agree. I think with or without tourism, I think one of the enablers also, I think with all this, 5G will be a huge enabler of this, right? Will
Absolutely. 5G will enable, of course, extremely low latency, but even beyond that is just the tremendous increase in bandwidth, so that the amount of data that we can send from the remote environment will just explode. So here we're looking at really HD video from a visual standpoint, and in future, of course, will be 360 surround video with HD retinal quality. And regarding tourism, it's interesting. We are working through a challenge introduced by Singapore Airlines, and what we are proposing, you can probably imagine, is that not only can you travel to places with Singapore Airlines, but when you're not traveling, you can still visit places through Singapore Airlines robotic fleet.
Right. Right. That's very interesting. So in this particular in your platform in vRotors, are you guys writing the OS for it or the hardware for it? Or tell me a little bit more about your IP and your platform.
Absolutely. So we are providing a full end user solution for the robotics industry. And what I mean by that is we have the full set of user applications. I mentioned to you PC, Mac, web, VR headsets, mobile, all the way to the cloud infrastructure, which allows for this distributed engagement, right? So whether it's one, two, or thousands of users around the world engaging with that remote device, there's a distributed communication and distribution of data that's required. Two-way, right? Two-way being voice as well as your movement, because that's represented by your avatar, and potentially controls, commands that you're sending to the device. So two-way distribution across those thousands of users potentially, and then that's that session management that gets you into the right device. As we launch to the public, in fact, we're actually providing our platform to any drone owner for no cost for the limited set of features. And so we anticipate in the near future having the largest operating drone fleet anywhere in the world. And with even 1,000 simultaneous drones, of course, you have to have the right people getting in the right drone. That's an important component. So the end user application set, the cloud infrastructure, which distributes and processes the data two ways. And then the actual applications which connect to the robotic devices. And so that is the full stack of software solution which enables this solution. The actual robotic hardware and the OS which runs on the robotic hardware is managed by the robotic innovator. So that's not where we are. We go from there all the way to the end user.
And who are your biggest competitors in this space?
Sure. So it's interesting that so ANA and the X Prize have foreseen that this is a future market, right? And so for them to seed that that marketplace, they created a $10 million prize, meaning that there is not a market today, there's a market tomorrow. But there are tangential industries which exist, which touch on the different components. So the most obvious, of course, would be the drone industry, right? So for drones, there's a significant penetration into the enterprise space, be it law enforcement, fire, or military. And but the ability to actually remotely collaborate around those vehicles is very limited. There are 3 or 4 companies which have some participation in that space. Mainly they participate with a web-based application, but without the robustness that I think the user experience can actually exist. There are a number of companies which operate at what we call an API level. So that if you are building a robot, you can connect to their API, but then you have to build your own end user application to again connect to the API. And so you, as a robot innovator, you still have to build a significant solution yourself. And so we find ourselves through our, really coincidentally, through our use cases, right? The use case of wanting to enable consumers to reach out to, through drones, to remote places, whether they're racing, whether it's through tourism, and now extending that into enterprise. That those use cases have really driven us for the full stack solution, and I think it put us in an early position to get some market traction.
Are you self-funded right now?
We bootstrapped ourselves for really a few years, and you know, you can imagine a few years ago and how different that is than today. So, you know, at that time, Oculus was still on Kickstarter, the Oculus VR headset. And the drones of that day, I can tell you, they were in my neighbor's yards every afternoon. So very different technology. But we had that dream of being present sort of in the drone and flying, and there is a magical feeling, you know, when you hit takeoff. When I watch people hit the takeoff button, and they are starting to move up, there is a feeling of magic for sure, and that's what's propelled us forward. But it really took us a few years to get that working. It took us 2 years before we actually felt comfortable taking somebody with us. And then really in the last year, we've accelerated to put it into, put it out to the world.
Excellent. I can imagine this being a personalized experience. In Disney, I know there is one exhibit where you essentially sit in this aero stadium, right? I mean, you essentially go out, and it's essentially a virtual movie, kind of a virtual flight. Yeah, you do, right? So it's a wonderful experience. Now doing it on a one-on-one
it's incredible
basis.
It's absolutely incredible, isn't it? And they've actually added smell to that, right?
Yes,
so
it does, absolutely. and on so absolutely, that was one of the best experiences that I have had. Somebody else needs to speak. Dhawal, go ahead.
Quick question, Neil. I'm still I love this technology, and thank you for your presentation today. I think
sure.
This is sort of the future, and I'm always interested in it. The one thing I always struggle with, though, is latency and then automation that's required based on that latency. Because I know with drones, if they lose contact even for 5 seconds, it could be in the water, you know, based on your video. And when you were talking about space, or even, you know, robots on Moon and Mars, there's going to be a significant latency just because of light travel. So then there has to be a layer of automation. How do you handle challenges like that?
Yeah, I think you brought up some really good points here. So first, with regard to just the robustness of the system to handle disconnects, right? So the device might be disconnected, the operator might be disconnected. This is a reality of you know, today's communication networks. They might just close down their computer. I talk to you about the multi-layer nature of the architecture, where we have software running at the actual location with the robotic device, in the cloud, and the end user. And that we have built in those safeguards and the ability to handle the disconnections at each layer. For example, if the client disconnects, they close the client or whatever, the drone automatically just freezes where it's located. And when the end user logs in again, it's automatically reconnected to that same drone in exactly that same state that they left in. Of course, if the drone were to go low on battery, it would automatically return. Similarly, if the drone disconnects for any reason, the client can handle that, inform the end users of that situation to basically hold on, please wait, until the remote device reconnects again. So it's really about building that redundancy and the capacity to handle those disconnections at each layer. Now, the other thing you asked about was lag, and this is really a key thing. First, of course, we have the technical chops to minimize that lag. So that's some of the experience and background of the team that we have. So we have an ultra low latency technology stack. But look, the reality is there is inherent lag in the devices and in the communication time. So if you try to fly a drone from London, which is located in California, just between the inherent latency in the device itself in terms of compressing and coding video and the round trip times of the internet and so forth, you'll be between 200 and 300 milliseconds of lag. If you're going to the moon or in orbit, well, let's say the moon, you're easily into the 4 to 5 seconds of lag in trying to operate that vehicle. So how do we accommodate that, right? You would think it'd be impossible. So this is really where video game user experience design comes in. And so what we do is we provide, as soon as the user operator issues a command, we give some immediate feedback to them in terms of haptics, sound, and visual sensation. So they know their command has been accepted, right? They're not wondering, hey, why isn't it turning? Hey, they know as soon as they've given a command, they're given that feedback. And in the case of something which has a greater lag, like the moon, we can overlay with our AR technology the actual virtual representation of the vehicle so that they can see how that vehicle is reacting in real time to their commands, even as the real vehicle is still catching up. And so in that way, they maintain a very firm and a real-time experience of controlling that remote vehicle.
Wow.
So you have essentially a buffer kind of a deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, the different data streams move at different speeds, right? Videos, different in telemetry, and we have to align those to keep them in sync to provide this real-time experience. But it is very much in the area of user experience design, where we have to provide that real-time feedback, while at the same time the user recognizes that, hey, you know, they've issued the commands, they know what's going to happen with the vehicle, but they're going to wait for those few seconds until the vehicle, in their view, responds to that command. And that's really the magic behind it. Now, look, the goal for any robot is to be C3PO and R2D2, but the reality is that that's not where robots are today.
Right.
And so as much as the ambition is for AI, as much as NASA JPL would love for those rovers to be automated, they're not spending $200 million and then letting it go. So we call this a mode of supervised autonomy. There is a lot of autonomy in those robots. And here's an example. So in the X Prize, when the human avatar robot were throwing a baseball or catching a baseball, we can see the baseball coming and we can indicate through our gestures that we want the robot to catch the ball. But it takes such a finesse of robotic hand and finger movement to actually catch a ball that particular capability is automated at the robot end. And so we're really commanding the robot, guiding the robot to go catch that ball, but the actual act of catching the ball is automated. And that's what we call supervised autonomy, where a lot of the sort of short-term low latent kinds of functions are automated, but the high level guidance is all driven by the human operator.
Fantastic. That is so interesting. Thank you so much for that answer.
Yeah, and this is absolutely brilliant, this thing. By the way, you should, on oil and gas, you should talk to Anil's other friend, Deepak. He has a beautiful technology. No, seriously, this is where I see intersections, right? I think we should have Deepak back online, because he's developing a beautiful system that is able to communicate in deep oil wells with much, in a robust manner. Essentially, he's 3D printing the controls into the pipes, right? And I think with your technology in that cabling, right? I think it is very much, Anil, you better invest in both these technologies, my friend, because you have 2 billionaires on your hand here, right? Because he's literally doing this. I asked him how he's doing it, and he is device agnostic, but he's laying down the cabling into the pipe, right?
Nice.
Now, if you're cabling, if you're able to do the controls, now the two of you together can literally see, control, and do the exploration, do the digging, or do the go to the place and be very precise. And,
absolutely,
and he's really addressing. I just got him in touch with. I just got him in touch with the investors, one of the lead investors, corporate investors at Chevron, and I was talking. Who's a friend of mine, and he was telling me that while that technology is a little bit it's still a little crude. The opportunity is huge, and if you seriously, you guys should connect on that. I think there's a huge.
Thank you, appreciate that. Definitely
you were saying
partnerships. I'm just going to say partnerships that, just like you suggested, are really important. It's difficult for one company to do the hardware solution, and do the software solution. So examples, Caterpillar has ambitions for a remotely operated crane and equipment fleet. So at their headquarters are the specialized operators, even though the equipment is located worldwide. Similar, you may have heard of Boston Dynamics. Has some very advanced robotics. They're very much focused on the actual robotic hardware and the intelligence at the edge. Whereas if you want to deploy those remotely, there's very much a need for partnership. So perfectly identified.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
This is Vivek here. You did mention a lot of new areas which could enable new careers, right? So I would like to hear a little bit more. What do you envision future careers? Like, for example, a remote satellite repair, right? That would become a niche profession in itself. So can you share a little bit more on that?
Yeah, in terms of profession or in terms of the industry?
Profession mainly.
Sure. So when drones were first deployed in Afghanistan, let's say, some years ago, the Air Force was looking for pilots. And while they were initially traditional pilots who converted over, who had actual flight experience, what they found is that the aptitude for those pilots really were coming from the video game industry. And they rapidly found that a great way to validate a potential candidate was to understand their background in video games, their interest in video games, and to play against them in a video game. There's a different set of skills. Part of it is the ability, you'd say, well, what makes a successful video game athlete, right? And look, there are legitimate esports video game athletes out there that can outperform anything you and I can do by far. There's a mental acuity, a speed with which they can process information, the ability to visualize in 3D, that is, plus have a lot of technical skill and understanding in terms of engineering. And so if somebody is going to operate this robotic device with a satellite, they're effectively going through a mini astronaut training to understand all those systems, right? Electrical, mechanical, because if there's any anomaly, they need to respond very fast. In space, you could lose a vehicle, you could lose a satellite forever from a wrong move, and it could spin out of control, and you could lose an investment of millions of dollars. So there's really an astronaut level worthy of training to have that kind of system engineering understanding, plus that mental agility that comes from video games to be able to respond in real time. So am I saying there's a profession of being a superhuman? Maybe there is, but it's going to be quite interesting to see how that opens up.
Yeah, absolutely. Fascinating careers ahead.
Thank you.
One last question from anybody else has a question before I ask you a question here? No. Excellent. I'm going to ask my question, which is this is fascinating for in the automotive industry. I think there are tons of applications here. We should talk about the automotive vehicle management system that's being looked at in smart cities, right? In a new city, in any city nowadays, you're coming up with Uber has its own autonomous vehicle, obviously Waymo and stuff like that, right? So they're looking at, just like you have a central tower for flight management at an airport, there are people who are looking at autonomous vehicle management towers, right? Yes. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. I think that's one of the big applications that is coming on top of these autonomous vehicle layers. And I know a couple of companies in Michigan that are working on it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it and what your opportunity there.
Yeah, there's, I suppose, I don't have any specific better understanding than you may, but I personally do see that future of autonomous transportation. The efficiency is without a doubt unquestioned, right? So if you look at an Uber ride or a Lyft ride, you know, the majority of the cost is actually the human operator, right? And as well as the risk, right? The actual skill level of the human operator is actually the greatest risk. So you can solve both problems through autonomy. Let me also add that at the same time, you can see how long it's taking to get these kinds of services deployed. And that has everything to do with that. As much as we believe in autonomy, we're not ready to trust autonomy. And that's why solutions need to be in place for this, we call it supervised autonomy. But the ability for a central control center to have oversight of the autonomous fleet, to be able to detect when anomaly or difficult situations are occurring or about to occur, and to jump in with the human operator when required to resolve that and prevent any issues. Right. So it's really fascinating where it's going, and you know, we've seen this in our lifetime, obviously, with mobile phones, starting, you know, way back with BlackBerry and some of those kinds of units, and we've seen where it's gone and how it's transformed our human experience. And robotics and autonomy, I think, and of course, nobody would question AI. These are going to have a similar transformation on our lives going forward too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I look forward to staying engaged with you. I think fleet management systems with technologies like yours have huge potential in the automotive industry, especially with 4 or 5 different organizations trying to get their own system up and running. I think there is a need for this, and I have been, I'd love to keep in touch with you. Good luck. Fantastic technology.
Thank you.
Anil, you bring up fascinating people, man. I'm telling you, you have a fascinating circle of friends. Really appreciate it. Certainly bright people. I'm looking forward to staying in touch. So thank you for that fascinating talk. We have Zena. We have 5 more minutes. I know she was so busy with Google, she forgot her Connect buddies. Right? So, but first of all, congratulations on Google. We are really happy for you, right? Google is your client now. So good stuff. You know, congratulations, Zena. I'm going to see a big Google banner in the back of in your background pretty soon, right?
Yeah, possibly. Hello,
there you
everybody. Go. Thank you for that really interesting talk. And I apologize for my tardiness. I did jump on a couple minutes late. So how is everybody today?
Good.
I had a Google presentation this morning at 7, so I'm a little bit scattered. At 4 o'clock, it's been a long day. So again, for most of you, I think most of you guys know me, but I am Zena Dalla, and we were talking about robots, right? And what are our bodies?
Not robots.
So we need to be moving so that we can get all the robot kinks out of our body. So thank you, Neil, for all that interesting information, but I'm going to get you guys moving. So on Friday, we talked about rotation, right? How did we all feel after we did the flat screen TV rotation? Does everyone remember doing that? Yes. Okay, beautiful. So we're going to actually do a really simple static rotation stretch. So I am going to search my office because I was not entirely prepared. And I'm going to grab a book. So I want you guys to search your office and grab a book or a pillow or a sweatshirt or just something you can put between your knees.
Got it.
Okay, so we got that. All right, so the only reason why we have something between our knees is just to help make sure that we're not shifting our pelvis. So if you notice, when I put something between my knees and I squeeze between my knees, it helps stabilize what's happening down in here, okay? We're gonna roll our shoulders back, and then we're gonna go ahead and twist. So I'm gonna take my right hand on the outside of my left chair and my left hand on the outside of the back of the chair. And I'm actually gonna rotate my body and turn and look over my left shoulder. But I'm going to do that without shifting my hips. And this book that I have, or the sweatshirt, or whatever you put between your knees, is what's going to help prevent your hips from shifting. And again, you're going to turn your head, look over the shoulder. I'm not doing that right now because I want to see what you guys are doing. Beautiful. And you're going to look over your shoulder and you're going to hold it for about 30 seconds. Yes, beautiful, Neil. Beautiful, Ravi. Beautiful, Debal. Let's see, who else is here? Do I see Vivek? Beautiful. Very nice. Make sure you're sitting up tall. I forgot to tell you to scoot to the edge of your chair, but I think most of you guys know to do that already whenever we're doing our exercises. Try to roll your shoulders back and squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you. So as you're in that rotation, squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you. Beautiful. Good. And now let's come back to center and let's go to the other side. So again, we're going to take your right hand now on the back of your right chair, your left hand on the outside of your right knee, and then look over your right shoulder and hold and twist. Beautiful. Again, you want to be sitting up tall on your sit bones and rotating. So the reason why this is important, again, because we have lost the ability to rotate from our thoracic spine, which is this mid back here. And we've lost that ability because we just don't do enough of it every day. So this is a great way to get more rotation in. This is a static stretch, which means you'll hold it from anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute on each side. And I know we're short on time, it's 4:59. So any questions on that?
That's pretty good.
You feel less robotic?
That's a very good stretch.
It's an easy one to do. Again, very important to get rotation in that mid-back spine so that you're not super tight in there. And also while you're there, you can think about squeezing your shoulder blades together. And it gives you some pelvic stabilization too, because you're squeezing onto something between your knees. So lots of different things happening in that particular stretch. 1 minute on each side.
Fantastic.
Thank you guys. Sorry I was late.
Thank you very much. See you Friday.
See you Friday.
Thank you.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Hey guys.
Thanks.
Everybody, thank you so much. Ashok, Ashok and Avi, I know we could not talk, but take care. Good to see you. We'll see you guys Friday. Neil, awesome presentation. Looking forward to staying in touch. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.